going over to Frances in Adapt charity shop.
The shop manager of the Adapt charity shop. Our shop was in number 6 Harshfield Street, and due to flooding we had to move, and we're currently out in the Parkway Shopping Centre, and we are planning to move back into town in January. The Adapt charity shop supports Adapt domestic abuse services, and you can see there by the slide that our mission statement is to offer support and safety to women and their children affected by domestic abuse. The service is committed to challenging domestic abuse by strengthening the capacity of individuals, community, organisations to respond effectively and to change society so domestic abuse is no longer tolerated. We are based in Limerick City since 1974 to promote the rights of women and children to life free from violence and provide support for women survivors of domestic abuse and their children. Each year, we provide quality service to over 800 women survivors and their children. We have emergency accommodation. There's 14 self-contained flats here in Adapt Services. We offer emotional, psychological, therapeutic, practical and legal support, educational opportunities, play therapy and the child service. We have a youth service and a childcare centre, support groups and training, promote awareness of domestic abuse's impact on women and children, and lobby for change to bring about the elimination of violence against women. So that's what the takings in our shop helps to provide this service for the women and children. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at fast fashion and how it contributes to the pollution. And fast fashion has a disastrous impact on our environment. In fact, it's the second largest polluter in the world, just after the oil industry. And the environmental damage is increasing as the industry grows. Currently, total greenhouse gas emissions from textile production is 1.2 billion tonnes annually, more than those of all international flights and maritime shipping combined. By some estimates, sector emissions are expected to rise more than 60% by 2030. And that's from the UN on climate change. You can see the slide there where it says 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions are caused by clothing and footwear production. And the shipping and maritime, yes, you said already, that's more than all the international flights and maritime shipping combined. So then water usage. Among the environmental impact of fast fashion is the depletion of non-renewable sources, emissions of greenhouse gases, and the use of massive amount of water and energy. The fashion industry is the second largest consumer industry of water. It takes about 20,000 litres of water to produce a cotton t-shirt and jeans. So then we'll go on to pollution. It's just, as you saw the slide there, just to put in perspective, 79 billion cubic meters of water was used by the textile and clothing industry in 2015. 2,700 litres of water is needed to produce one t-shirt. That's enough drinking water for one person for 2.5 years. And then the impact of, I suppose, water pollution, as in the fast fashion and water pollution. Textile dyeing is the second largest polluter of water worldwide, and the fashion industry produces 20% of the world's wastewater. According to a 2019 report, the World Bank stated that some studies have shown that the textile industry is responsible for about 1/5 of global water pollution. And you'll see there by washing our clothes, especially the synthetic ones, that 0.5 million tonnes of microfiber goes into our waters and into our rivers and our seas every year. And that accounts for 35% of primary microplastic released into the environment. So then, of course, we get on to land waste. We discard 92 million tonnes of clothes-related waste every year. And you'll see there on the slide that a garbage truck full of clothes, either for incinerator or landfill, goes every second. That's enough to fill 1.5 of the Empire State Buildings every day. So you can see how disposable our clothes are. As a result, we generate more and more textile waste. A family in the Western world throws away an average of 30 kg of clothing each year. Only 15% is recycled or donated, and the rest go directly into landfill. So I suppose if by thinking about a garment we wear as a short-term tool rather than a long-term investment, we contribute to wasteful consumption patterns that inevitably lead us towards drastic climate change. So that's very worth thinking about. And I suppose then if you were to look at the workers and who actually works and makes all our clothes, and the fast fashion brand employs millions of garment workers in Bangladesh, India, China, Indonesia, Vietnam, and other developing nations that lack adequate protection for the environment and the workers' rights. It's estimated that up to 80% of the labour force across the fashion industry, complex supply chain, are women. And you'll see there on the slides, garment workers are often forced to work 14 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, 69 hours per week, often working in very poor environments. Their basic wage is very low, that they possibly cannot afford to actually refuse overtime, and sometimes that overtime isn't even paid. In some cases, it's estimated that 93% of brands aren't paying their garment workers a living wage. A living wage is a human right for all people all over the world. And I just want to put it into perspective. If you were to buy a t-shirt for 29 euros, 59% of that, which is 17 euros, will go to the retailer. The profit to the brand is 12%, which is 3.61 euros. Material cost is 12%, which is 3.40 euros. Transport cost is 8%, which is 2.19 euros. Intermediary is €1.20, which is 4%. The profit to the factory in Bangladesh would be 4%, which is €1.15. Overhead cost is 0.9%, which is 27 cents. And pay to the workers is 0.6%, which is 18 cents. So that kind of puts it into perspective of what we pay for and where the money goes to for each garment that we buy. So I suppose having a look there now on why it's important to buy second hand, I suppose what I've said above is very, very relevant, but also we have solutions and alternatives to mitigate these problems. We can change this story by buying less, valuing what we have, swapping and sharing, buying secondhand, and finding new ways to refresh our wardrobes, repairing and making clothes that last. We are powerful through every choice we make. So it's within us and it's within our power to change this. And I suppose part of a way of changing it is about looking at what do you do with your, I suppose, your clothes that you no longer want and your brickarack and all the bits and pieces around the house. And you can donate them to your local charity shops. And also you can buy your clothes from your charity shops. And if you go into a charity shop, like when you go into your charity shop to buy clothes, what you're doing is you're actually slowing down the fast fashion cycle and you're giving garments a second chance. You're decreasing the negative impact on the environment. It's promoting sustainable fashion. You're saving money. You're extending the garment's life cycle. You can find some really unique pieces like in secondhand shops. You're saving resources. You're reducing the impact on the environment, help reduce waste and reduce pollution, and you're supporting a good cause. And if you look there at that poster that I have up there, it's the Irish Charity Shop Association. They did a survey there in 2020 from all their members of the charity shops, and it says there that the charity shop turnover was 36.5 million in sales, trading for 33 weeks, because if you remember, we were closed for half the year in 2020 due to COVID, and that was from 460 shops and 40 charities. And the figure in 2019 was 69 million. So that's a lot of money that's generated from people's donations. There was 4.8 million numbers of customers that came through the door in 2020. There was 5.7 million garments sold and 775 tons diverted from landfill. That's an equivalent, as you can see there, from the Dublin bus fleet, which there's 1,010 buses. So just to think about that. There's 1,006 CO carbon saved through the use of items sold in charity shops. There's 600 employed through TUS and the CE schemes, 8,000 volunteers and 42 million euro on social value. And the charities that when you go into your charity shop, you are supporting is to be children with disability, poverty, domestic abuse, homeless service, animal welfare, cancer research, third world countries. And that's just a few off the top of my head. And I'll just move on there and we'll have a look at some, I just put up some pictures there of what you possibly could find in your charity shop. And this is some that I had photographs I'd taken earlier. And they're just a few bits and pieces there. We had that beautiful solid pine table that was given, or actually, sorry, it's not pine, it was oak table actually that was given to us. And the woman who donated that to us, she told me she paid over 5,000 euros for that set about maybe 15 years ago. And we got 1,200 euros for it, which really benefited our charity. And then the person who buys it got great value. And I suppose that's all about coming into a secondhand shop and getting value for money. And then I just put up a few gems of clothes there, but then like we get loads of different types of clothes and loads of different labels like Calvin Klein, Ted Baker, Vanessa Westwood. We actually have a wedding dress currently here from her, as in on her design. Michael Kors, Louis Vuitton, Mulberry, Jimmy Choo, and LK Bennett. That's just a few. I was just put this up actually because I just thought it was interesting. Like when you come into charity shops, you just never know what you find. And sometimes there's a story behind them. And this jacket is by Fanny Reynolds. She's an Irish Limerick designer. And she was around in the 70s and 80s. And she had a shop in Bunratty called the Bunratty Cottage where she sold her clothes. Vanessa Redgrave, Catherine Hepburn and Diana Ross wore her designs, and two of her ball gowns were actually worn at President Reagan's inauguration ball. So you can see that some of the clothes have a great story behind them. This is bits and pieces of bric-a-brac that you'll find in charity shops. So then the other thing actually I wanted to tell you was Driftify, which is set up there for the last year and a half, maybe 2 years. It's a website where the products being sold come directly from charity shops. And you can find your clothes, your books, your bric-a-brac and all of that on that website. It's an Irish website and it's well worth having a look at it. So I just wanted to show those table and chairs that were upcycled by Corda, I can't pronounce that. To us, it was always pals. Who are up next, and we gave them some of our furniture, which they upcycled for us. And then we sold them in the shop where we got a percentage of the profit, and so did they. So it was a win-win for all. So there's many reasons to learn to love secondhand, and thank you all for listening to me.